Hello students, how are you? In the previous video we had started the chapter improvement in food resources. Okay, in the previous video we had discussed some basic things like what are the different kinds of crops like rabi crops, kharif crops, zaid crops, etc. Okay, in this video we will be starting with crop variety improvement. What happens in crop variety improvement? In this approach, crops are selected on the basis of their characteristics. For instance, how well they can respond to fertilizers, can they produce high yield, how they resist disease, and so on. Okay, means what happens, the crops are selected on the basis of their characters. Now, what are the good characters for a crop? Okay, or what you want that a crop should have? You will want that they should respond to the fertilizer that you are using or different chemicals. Secondly, definitely everyone will be wanting, whosoever is attached to this crop things or agriculture, that they want high yield of that substance or that crop. Okay, and at the same time they also want that it should resist the disease. Okay, so in this approach, means in crop variety improvement, the crops are selected on the basis of their characteristics, and it may be anyone. Okay, depending on the conditions, depending on the climate, depending on the type of crops that you are growing, so this can vary the what character you want. Okay, now what are the different methods of crop variety improvement? First is hybridization. In this process, genetically different plants are crossbred. Okay, now what is the meaning of it? The DNA, or you can say the cells that is, and the two cells or the two genetic material are fused, that is hybridization. Okay, hybrid means new formation or the mix up of the two things, that is the hybridization. So in hybridization, the process, genetically different plants are crossbreed. It can be of three types. What are the three types of hybridization? First is intervarietal, that is between two varieties of a plant. Okay, between two varieties of a plant. Next is interspecific. Interspecific means two species but belonging to same genus. Okay, means that there are two different species but they both belong to the same genus, so that is interspecific. And third is intergeneric, that is between species of different genus. So three types: intervarietal, that is two varieties of a plant, that is same species. They are same species but varieties are different. For example, mango have different varieties, that is the different variety. Interspecific, now this becomes solely completely different because it is now between two species, two different species belonging to same genus. And then there is intergeneric, that between species of different genus. Okay, so crop variety improvement, in this approach what do? We first decide the characteristic. For example, how well they can respond to fertilization, fertilizers, how can they produce high yield, or how they resist the disease, etc. And then we decide how it can be done. Hybridization is a method through which the three things come, that is intervarietal, interspecific, intergeneric, and with the help of this we can carry out this process. After hybridization, second is introduction of gene. A gene that can provide the desirable characteristics to the crop are introduced in this process, and as a result we obtain genetically modified crops. A gene that can provide the desirable characteristics to a crop are introduced in this process. As a result we obtain genetically modified crops. Clear? So two processes: hybridization. After hybridization, that the gene which is providing that desirable characters are now introduced in the crop, that is the introduction of a gene. Clear? Next is factors on which crop yield generally depends. So there are various factors on which the crop yield depends. The first is seeds used by the farmer. The seeds that are of similar variety are preferable. Second, climate or weather conditions. Crops that can sustain diverse climatic conditions are preferable. Okay, now because you know that the climate is such that it can change, and if the crop are resistant to the changing climate, then they can be yielding good. Next is about the soil. The crops that can survive with a high saline soil are preferable. And then the most important, availability of water. Crops should be grown as per the availability of water in the region. So these are the different factors on which the crop yield generally depends. Next, why do we need to perform a crop variety improvement? So what is the need so that we need to carry out the process of crop variety improvement? We need to carry out the crop variety improvement for the following points. First, increasing the yield of the crops. Second, improving the quality of the crop. Different crops may have different qualities. For example, pulses have high protein, oil seeds have high oil quality, fruits and vegetable have preserving quality. Next, improving crop resistance to biotic and abiotic stresses. Biotic stresses refer to the diseases, insects and nematodes, while abiotic stresses refer to floods, drought, heat and cold weather condition. Next, to shorten the maturity period of crops, it will allow farmer to grow a variety of crops in a year. Next, it would also lead to an increase in the yield of the crop as it reduces the chance of losses during harvesting and simplifies the harvesting period. Achieving the required agronomic characteristics of a crop such as right height, weight, lodging, resistance and high yield, and in this way they would consume the right nutrients and would produce a higher yield. Okay, so these all the points, these are for the favorable of the crop, so that we can get good quality as well as in the quantity should be increase of the crop. So these points are there. Okay, why do we need to perform a crop variety improvement? Okay, read these points and then we will be moving forward. Okay, so I hope all these points are clear to you. These are very important points, okay, because all these things are really important. Increasing the yield of the crops, quality of the crops, because they all the crops have different qualities, and then improving the resistance of the crop to biotic and abiotic stresses. What are biotic? That are living conditions, and by abiotic, that is a non-living conditions. For example, heavy rainfall and that things like, okay. And biotic stress, this refers to insects etc that they cause damage to the plants, so it is also important. Then to shorten the maturity period of the crops, what do you mean by maturity period shortening? Means they reach at the maturity period very quickly, okay, so that they can be cut quickly and can be used. Then it will also lead to an increase in the yield, that is the most important thing, and achieving the required agronomic characteristics such as right height, weight, lodging, resistance and high yield. Next is crop production management. Different farmers can have small or large farms on which they can use different farming practices. The choice of farming practices would depend upon the availability of financial resources money. Hence, production practices can be divided into different levels. Now, what are those different levels? No cost production, low cost production and the high cost production. As the name suggests, no cost production means you don't invest money into that but still get favorable outcomes, okay. For example, using old resources, okay, using the seeds from the crops that had been grown, and growing the parts of the crop like vegetative propagation etc. Then there is low cost production, means you invest a little amount of money and still get the good outcome, okay. And then next one is the high cost production. In that you invest a lot of money. Okay, you are also investing, like for example, high chemical fertilizers, high quality and high cost chemical fertilizers, high machines, high quality machines that cost you a large amount of money. Okay, and then it can also lead to the increase in the quality. So these are the different practices that can be practiced at different level. You know, everyone cannot practice high cost production. Okay, someone can low cost, someone can manage no cost production. So it is dependent on how the person can use it differently. Okay, I hope it is clear to all of you. In the next video we will be continuing this chapter, students. Till then, you keep studying, okay, and take care of yourselves. Stay inside your house. Thank you and have a nice day.